Before I go into App Store optimization, I want to talk a little bit first about app creation, because if you create an app that is great and desirable, it's an app that people want, it will make your app, the potential of your app, that much more successful. And it'll make your App Store optimization efforts much, much easier, and you'll find it's a lot easier to get traction. Now, this is not an app creation course. I have other courses that go much more in depth into app creation, but I felt that this is an important enough topic to go into for this App Store optimization course. So let's get right into it. I'm not going to go in depth, but here are some quick tips. So back in the graphic that I had created, the yellow circle represents the app creation process. And ideally, you want to create a great and desirable app. And so what makes a great and desirable app? You want to create a great app that people want, and this will make your ASO efforts easier and more successful. So obviously, don't make an app that nobody wants, and you also don't want to make an app that sucks. You may make an app that somebody wants, but if it sucks, it's still not going to do very well. So instead, consider these 4 things. You want to make an app that's desirable, it's usable, it's appealing, and it's functional. So if you look at pretty much all apps that are out there that are successful, they fulfill all 4 of those things. And so when you're creating an app, you want to make sure that you're putting a lot of effort into those 4 things, that it's desirable, it's usable, it's appealing, and it's functional. So you have to ask yourself, what purpose does this app serve? What need will it fulfill? And so, and even if the need is just killing time or entertaining someone for a few moments, that could still be a very purposeful app. And so, and we've seen in games and in entertainment apps some of the most silly types of apps, and yet they still do very, very well. So, and yet all of those apps, even though they're silly or stupid, they still fulfill a purpose. They still serve a need. And so that's what makes them do well. So another point is to do one thing and to do it well. Don't try to be a jack of all trades, an app that does everything, but just focus in on doing one thing and doing it well. So how do we do this? Don't come up with an idea and just run with it. Don't rely on family and friends to give you an app idea. An app idea alone is not good enough. And typically a process for someone new at this scene, it'll go like this. They'll come up with an app idea, they'll think it's brilliant. Then they'll tell their friends and family, and their friends and family will support it. Or another scenario is a friend or a family member finds out that you're making apps, and they'll come to you with an app idea. And they'll say, hey, this will do really well. You should do this, and this for an app. And you'll think about it, and you'll be like, oh yeah, that sounds like a pretty good idea. And someone new at this may run with that and create something and find out nobody wants it, or it doesn't do well at all, even though initially you thought it was the most brilliant idea ever. So to save yourself from that process, and I mean, I've seen this time and time again where someone really invests too much effort into creating an app that does not do well. What you want to do instead is validate it. You want to validate your app idea. So how do you do this? There's many ways to do this. And the most obvious and probably the best way is to look in the top charts of the app stores and look into your category, search for the search term that aligns with the app that you're trying to create, and take a look and see what the market is demanding. See what the market is saying, this is what we want. This is the need that we need fulfilled, and that's why these apps are doing so well. So when you look at the top charts, you instantly get a picture of the here and now of what's hot and what people are desiring at this moment. And there are other ways. There's like Google search. You can use the keyword planner tool. You can look at Google Trends. There's ASO tools. There's a lot of different things. But I think the best method to start with is to look in the App Store itself. Now, you may be asking, what if I have this idea that nobody's ever thought of before, and it's, you know, it's going to be earth shattering because it's so new and so off the edge, it's so cutting edge, and it'll just blow people away. Now, I don't want to discount the fact that someone may come up with an idea that's just completely new and no one's ever thought of before. But the element of risk in doing something like that is extremely high. And I've seen people invest like a year of their time and tons of money and all this effort in something that they thought was going to take the world by storm and you know, be the next, you know, $20 billion purchase. And I've seen it fall flat. And people are just so devastated. So if you're new to this game, or if you're, you know, you don't have the super deep pockets of some of these companies, I would avoid doing that, because more often than not, and the chances are that you've thought of something completely new that no one else has come up with, is pretty slim. And so I would stick to using a validation method of looking into the App Store, looking into all these different search tools, and find out what the market is demanding. Find out what the market wants and what they're looking for, and use that method as a way to validate your idea, to make sure that it is something that will have a good chance of success. So just to point out as a different angle of this is, your idea may already exist as an app. And like I was mentioning before, that's not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, it's probably a good thing that someone's finding some kind of success in it, that they have an app that they published on the App Store. And but if you do find an app or several apps that already have taken your idea, focus on how you can make your app better than theirs. And so a good way to do this is to read the description as to what it does, look at the reviews, and find out what people are complaining about and ways you can make it better. And it doesn't have to be just in terms of functionality. You can make an app better. You can make your app better through better graphics, through better sound effects, through enhanced features, through more efficient ways of doing things. There's many different ways that you can make an app better than what's already out there. So that might require a little bit of homework and just finding out what people are saying about existing apps. But just because you find an app that's already in the App Store, that's already doing what you thought of doing, doesn't mean that you should just can the idea and not do it. In fact, it may be validating it already, and a good way to use that as a springboard to create an even better app that serves a better purpose. So I'm going to do a quick demo here of just validating an app idea in hopes to create a good app. Now, keep in mind, this is just for demo purposes. It's just for teaching and training. I'm not actually going to create this app, and it's not something that I'm suggesting you should do, but I'm using it for demo purposes just to help illustrate the concepts that I'm teaching. So, and I'm also using iTunes, the iTunes App Store. You may, it would be very similar researching it on the Google Play Store. But just for demo purposes, I will be using the iOS App Store. So I've thought about creating a signature app, and what that is basically, I know there's a lot of people with legal documents, for example, realtors. They may be buying or helping a client buy or sell a house. And when they get down to the nitty-gritty, ultimately the buyer and the seller will have to sign a purchase agreement to buy a house or sell a house. And so I was thinking of creating an app where they could use their finger and sign the document on a tablet or a phone, and have that signature with their finger be legal and binding for the document that they're signing. And I do know that apps like this already exist, but it was just something that I want to use for demo purposes. So up in the search box in the top right-hand corner here, I'm just going to type in signature. And there are some suggestions, but I'll just say signature. Let's just see what comes up there. So there's a whole bunch of apps here. And Sign Easy, Sign Now, A+ Signature Lite, lots of signature apps. But let's just click on the first one here. and take a look. So yeah, there's someone, signing a document here and using that there. So what I would do here is I would actually go through all of these and just maybe read through some of the reviews, look at the screenshots to see what they're doing with it. Here's their reviews. Look through all versions of the reviews. This one's all five stars and 4 stars. I'd read the more lengthy ones to see if they have any suggestions. And I'd start jotting down ideas of how I could make a better signature app or signing document app. And I'd go through all of these just doing the research. And I'd spend some time both on the Google Play Store as well as iOS going through this. I'm not going to do it now just for the sake of time and keeping this video short. But the other thing I want to show you is also just doing some research on Google. And if I was to type in signature app on Google, it would come up with 3 great digital signature apps. I'd go through all of these links and just do some research on what's out there. So I can see there's some apps listed here like Sign Now, Sign Easy. And again, I'd go through all these links and I'd take notes on what existing apps are doing. I'd take notes on competitors, and I'd also take notes on how I could potentially improve upon some of these existing apps. The other thing I would look at is trends.google.com. And if you've never used Google Trends before, something good about it is you could type in like signature app here, and it'll actually give you a little graph over time of the popularity of this search term. So signature app, back in 2009 basically didn't have any searches at all, but suddenly it started taking off, and that's probably the first time a signature app and signing with your finger came out and became popular. But you can see that this is an uptrend, which is a good sign. Anything that is trending up is definitely something worth looking into. And I can add another term here, and maybe I would want to say digital signature. And that way I can actually compare the two in terms of trending over time. And you can see this red line represents digital signature, and the blue line represents the search term signature app. And you can see that digital signatures head and shoulders above in terms of search volume over signature app. But having said that, both these terms are very promising because there's a lot of search volume for that. People are looking for that kind of thing. So I might also, search for electronic signature, and we can see search volume for that is not quite as high as digital signature, but much higher than signature app. And I'd look at the trend lines as well as the search volume over time. And so this is Google Trends. I find it really good for validating an idea, as well as comparing maybe 2 different terms and see which one's more popular, which one has more volume overall. So that was just a very brief overview of how to create a great and desirable app. Again, this is not an app creation course. I've got other courses on that go much more in depth into this. But for now, the main point I wanted to point out is you want to create an app that people want, that's really functional. It serves a purpose, and people are going to like. And if you don't do this, you're going to have a lot of trouble no matter how much App Store optimization you do. And that's why this step is so critical, and I wanted to mention it first and foremost. So create a great and desirable app, and you will see success in your App Store optimization.